A Florida rapper's shocking murder is caught on camera.
And you can see the shooters are getting in position for their planned out murder.
Now, nearly a month after the rapper's sudden death, authorities are announcing multiple arrests in the case. On June 23rd of this year, rapper Charles Jones II, better known by his stage name Julio Foolio, was celebrating his birthday at a hotel in Tampa, Florida. It was there when he was ambushed in the hotel's parking lot and gunned down. The shocking crime was captured on the hotel's surveillance video. In the first few seconds of the clip, a dark-colored vehicle is seen outside the hotel's entrance. But within seconds, two individuals are seen running with dark-colored masks on, as officials say both had firearms in their hands. Then another individual appears on camera, also with the firearm coming from another direction. Shortly after, bullets are seen flying as one of the gunmen is seen on surveillance video firing off multiple rounds into the vehicle with Jones inside, riding in the passenger seat. The Jacksonville rapper was pronounced dead and 3 others were injured in the shooting. But within a month, authorities would get their break in the case and quickly track down their suspects.
A little more than a month ago, a group of individuals with the goal of premeditated murder traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa to commit a heinous crime in our city. I said at that time that we would make arrests and get justice in this case for all the victims, including the mother of Charles Jones, who traveled from Jacksonville this morning to be present for this announcement. Today, I stand before Tampa Police Major Pat Messmer, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters, and Hillsborough State Attorney Susie Lopez to announce the arrest of 3 people in the deadly shooting of Charles Jones, also known by his stage name of Julio Foolio. In addition, we have warrants and are actively searching for 2 other individuals in this case.
During a press conference on July 29th, a little more than a month after the deadly shooting, officials announced the arrest of 3 people: 21-year-old Isaiah Chance Jr., 21-year-old Alicia Andrews, and 18-year-old Sean Gathright. At the time, authorities were still looking for the 2 other suspects, Rashad Murphy and Davion Murphy, but officials were clear all 5 played a role in the rapper's death.
These individuals took extreme measures to try to cover their actions, but they were no match for our investigators. Isaiah Chance, Alisa Andrews, Sean Gathright, Davion Murphy, and Rashard Murphy are all accused of playing a role in Jones's death and are all charged with 1 count of murder in the first degree, premeditated, with the discharge of a firearm, and 1 count of conspiracy of murder in the first degree, premeditated, with the discharge of a firearm. Chance, Andrews, and Gathright were arrested over the weekend in Jacksonville. Davion Murphy and Rashard Murphy are still fugitives of justice, and we are working closely with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and the U.S. Marshals to apprehend them.
According to Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkaw, the group followed Foolio after his location for his birthday celebration was posted on social media for his 1 million followers to see. And the shocking surveillance video would prove critical in the case.
Jones was in town celebrating his birthday and posted on his social media his locations several times throughout that night. Surveillance video was critical in this investigation, as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location. This shows the lengths that these individuals were willing to go through and achieve that this murder would occur. At 4:15 in the morning, Jones began to head to a hotel on McKinley. One of the suspect vehicles is seen following the victim. However, instead of following them into a parking lot, they stage across the street. At 4:38, 3 shooters exit a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun and 2 rifles. This barrage of gunfire also struck 3 additional victims who miraculously survived this incident.
Many questions lingered as to why the Jacksonville rapper was brutally murdered, but Chief Burkaw said Foolio was targeted during an ongoing gang feud.
The investigation would later reveal that the three armed shooters were Sean Gaithright, Rashard Murphy, and Davion Murphy. Detectives used footage from the scene, license plate readers, and phone logs to identify two vehicles and link them back to the suspects. Furthermore, it was found that the shooters are members of or affiliated with rival gangs of Jones that go by ATK and 1200. Jones was part of the 6 Block gang. Detectives believe that the ATK and the 1200 worked together to target Jones as part of an ongoing feud in Jacksonville. I want to send a clear message to anyone that the city of Tampa is not where you want to come to settle a dispute. You will be charged, you will be arrested, and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent possible. Furthermore, if you're a gang member, there's no alleged immunity through a cone of silence, as our detectives will find evidence needed to make an arrest and hold everyone accountable, just as we did in this case. Then, you will be prosecuted by our tenacious state attorney, Susie Lopez.
Then a day after the press conference, another break in the case. With only one of the alleged gunmen behind bars, warrants were still out for Rashad and Davion Murphy, the two other alleged gunmen. But overnight, authorities apprehended Rashad Murphy at an apartment complex in Jacksonville. According to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, negotiators spent hours attempting to get Murphy out before additional units, including SWAT, used their own tactics to force him out before he was arrested. Now authorities are still on the lookout for the remaining suspect and other alleged triggerman, Davion Murphy.
It was a celebration for him, and unfortunately, some people allegedly took that opportunity to go up to Tampa and take his life.
Attorney Afi Patterson explains the shocking crime was an organized hit, and once the 5 suspects tracked Foolio down through social media, they were easily able to carry out the brazen crime.
Yeah, I don't know that I would call it a level of sophistication. I think, nowadays everybody uses social media. If you're somebody who wants to track down, your ex, or if you want to know what's going on with your current partner, you're going to use social media. I don't think that, requires a ton of sophistication. I don't know that, maybe you can use that argument and tie it to the argument that it's gang related, a level of organization. But yeah, I don't know that I would call it sophistication, but I definitely believe that he had a target on his head.
The 5 suspects were also identifiable as the murder was captured in clear surveillance footage.
We look in this situation, we have, I think there's like at least an 18-year-old, there's maybe a 21-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 27-year-old. So I look at the younger people and I look at, their experiences with law and crime, if you will, their experiences with actions and consequences. And I also take a look at, what is their outlook on life? What do they have to live for and what do they have to lose? And a lot of times, we know, when you're in middle school, when you're in high school, kids do things and, they don't always look at the long-term effects of it. They don't understand what someone has to lose. So I look at it as, there's such brazenness because they haven't really been exposed to consequences and they really don't understand everything that's at stake.
During Monday's press conference, Hillsborough County District Attorney Susie Lopez said even though Isaiah Chance Jr. and Alicia Andrews didn't pull the trigger, all 5 now face the rest of their life in prison.
The ongoing fight between these two groups spilled over into Tampa last month. Let me be clear, the feud stops here. All 5 of these defendants are facing life in the Florida State Prison, even the ones who didn't pull the trigger. In Florida, if you participate in the planning of a murder, you can be held accountable for the person's death. And that is what we intend to do here. There were 3 people who pulled the trigger. You saw it on the video. 5 people, though, are charged with murder. The level of planning and coordination between these 5 defendants was truly alarming. It is clear that they all had one purpose in coming to Tampa, and that was to kill. And let's not lose sight of the fact that there are innocent victims in every homicide case, the loved ones who are left behind. His fans knew him as Julio Foolio, but to his mom, he's Charles. We're fighting to make sure that she gets justice. I was able to speak with her this morning before she got to Tampa, and she's in Tampa with us today. I wanted to let her know that my office takes gun violence very seriously, and I let her know that these 5 defendants will be held accountable for their calculated actions. The defendants are in custody, 3 of them, in Jacksonville, and will be moved here to appear in court. My office will file a motion for pretrial detention to ensure that these dangerous individuals are held behind bars as they await trial, where they belong.
Patterson explains the group's pretrial detention, meaning all are not very likely to have bond or bail in their cases, isn't surprising given the seriousness of their charges.
You know, so many things go into consideration for a bond. So, I want to look at just the crime, the events, the circumstances that allegedly happened around the crime, but I also want to take into account, their age, their criminal history, their reputation and standing in the community. There are just so many factors that go into it. But, just given what's been alleged, I don't disagree with the state's position that they shouldn't have a bond.
And here's what else we've learned about the 5 suspects. According to Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkaw, the suspects include members of the gang ATK, also known as Ace's Top Killers, and 1200, which have been in a decade-long feud with Foolio's gang 6 Block. ATK is affiliated with another Jacksonville rapper, Young and Ace, who was mentioned during the press conference. However, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters says he's not being investigated at this time.
So Young and Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. I won't speak to the chief's investigation. That's up to TPD. We don't have an investigation on him right now. But he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it. And that's for the betterment of our community.
According to Tampa PD, 21-year-old Alicia Andrews assisted Isaiah Chance Jr. in tracking and following Foolio and his entourage to 2 separate locations on the night of the shooting. Officers arrested her on July 27th along with Chance, and the 2 are now charged with premeditated first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit premeditated first-degree murder with a firearm. Officials confirmed Chance is a documented ATK member. Although Chance was not one of the shooters, on the night of the murder, investigators say Chance was in one of the suspects' vehicles and helped Andrews in tracking Foolio's movements throughout the night. Police say at each location, Andrews and Chance got out of their vehicle and Chance used a cell phone to contact the other suspects. After he used the phone, a second suspect's vehicle arrived at each location. Then both vehicles ultimately followed Foolio to the hotel. 18-year-old Sean Gathright, who authorities confirmed was one of the 3 shooters, was arrested at a Jacksonville shopping center. But according to First Coast News, officials did not say whether Gathright was affiliated with the Jacksonville gang. Gathright is charged with premeditated murder with a firearm, 3 counts of first-degree attempted premeditated murder with a firearm, and tampering with physical evidence. As for the other 2 shooters, Rashad Murphy and Davion Murphy, they face the same charges as Gathright, and officials confirm both are members of the 1200 gang. Right now, it's still too early to tell if the case will go to trial, as 4 of the 5 suspects await transport to Tampa to face their charges, and all have not entered a plea just yet. Police say Davion Murphy is still wanted by authorities and a warrant is out for his arrest. He faces charges of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Online records show Sean Gathright, Alicia Andrews, and Isaiah Chance Jr. are still behind bars in the Duval County Jail before being transported to Tampa to face their charges. But at this time, it's unclear where Rashad Murphy is being detained. Reporting for Law and Crime, I'm Elizabeth Milner.